According to the World Health Organization, globally, 1 in 4 adults do not meet the global recommended level of physical activities, and more than 80% of the world's adolescent population is insufficiently physically active, despite the undeniable significance of exercise. So, today we would be talking about the reality of exercise. I am Latifa Agnola, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Growth podcast, a platform where we facilitate discussions around career, health, philosophy, psychology, and din. As I've always said, we talk about everything and anything. And at the other end of the conversation today is Ibrahim Obe, a physiotherapist and fitness enthusiast. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Ibrahim.
Yeah, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Latifa. It's actually nice to be here.
So some people might be wondering, what does a physiotherapist have to do with fitness? So before we go into the topic proper, can you tell us a little about what you do?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Basically, I get this question a lot because there's that misconception about physiotherapy. When people hear physiotherapy, it's just always in their minds like massage, which is something that is very soothing. I mean, and there's also the exercise part as well. But today, before we proceed, let me just try and break it down for us. Physio, has to do with is the word is coined from physical, and then the therapy from treatment. So it basically means using physical methods to actually treat conditions, like different conditions. It could be neurological conditions that has to do with the brain, for example, stroke. It could be
Mm.
musculoskeletal condition that has to do with the bones, the muscles, the ligaments, the tendons, and the likes. And it could even be in pediatrics, you know, and it could also be physiotherapy. There's also physiotherapy in women's health, which I don't want to digress. There are some conditions that physiotherapy help manage in women. Example of this condition is uterovaginal prolapse, different categories of prolapse. Basically, physiotherapy help manage first and second degree of such cases, and not in the severe cases. In the severe cases, you might have to opt for surgery. And okay, basically, what physiotherapy is all about, like I said earlier, is using physical methods. It could be my hands, it could be your hands, it could be gadgets, it could be different modalities, machines to actually treat various conditions. Unlike you know, medicine proper where you have to take that thing inside, like take it inside your gut, like taking drugs and even taking injections. In physiotherapy, we just treat you physically. For example, when you have pain, we can use something that is called cryotherapy. That's using ice, like breaking the ice into pieces and you know, placing it on that area to help relieve pain. Do you understand? Through a
Yeah.
process. And also, you could also use heating modalities. Like we have the infrared lamp, we have the shortwave diathermy that we use. I have excuse me, we have the microwave diathermy, different forms. So it could be cold, it could be heat. We use exercises, we use different machines, and so on and so forth to actually treat various conditions. So physiotherapy is not just limited to massage. Massage is just one of the many tools that we actually use in physiotherapy to help treat various conditions. So basically, it's just treating conditions or different types of conditions through physical methods or physical means, basically, which could be exercise, which could be some of these modalities that I've earlier mentioned before, like the
Yeah.
heat, the cold, and so on and so forth. So basically, that's what physiotherapy is all about.
Okay. So moving into the topic proper, yeah.
Yeah.
If we ask anyone about exercise, they'll have one or two to say.
Mm.
But what makes a good exercise, like a proper exercise, and what different type of exercise do we have?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for that question. The thing is, there's the physical activity part, mm?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also exercise. Now, let me start by, trying to differentiate what physical activity is and what exercise is. Now,
Okay.
physical activity is, for example, when you have to, you know, I'm just going to give an example here. Let's take, and I'm going to use our society. Let's say, for instance, there's traffic jam, and
Yeah.
you're kind of tired of sitting down in the bus, and you just feel like, okay, let me just get out and trek the distance. Basically, what you're trying to do is that's physical activity, and that could actually lead to stress. But you see, exercise, the difference between exercise and physical activity is the fact that exercise now it is timed. Do you understand? It is structured, and it
Okay.
can be modified. So we have like four framework that we use to actually classify exercise. We have the frequency of the exercise, depending on the condition you are prescribing the exercise for. Then exercise is also like the drugs, like our drugs, our medicine that we are taking. It has dosage as well. So you can't
Yeah.
just wake up today and just say that, oh, okay, I'm going to run from here to Oshodi or to somewhere. So that's physical activity. But when the physical activity is now timed, when it is structured and modified, that's what makes it exercise. You have a goal already, you have something you want to achieve. Maybe it could be your general health fitness, it could be the fact that for example, people with hypertension, exercise is also part of the medicine that is used in managing hypertension. It's basically drug, diet, and exercise. So you see, that's actually the difference between now. If you have to do your house chores in your house, some of our patients will come and be like, oh, I do all my house chores myself. I wash, I clean, and all. And I tell them that basically what you're doing is physical activity, because you can have too much of that because of the fact that, oh, you just have to complete those tasks. So that could actually lead to stress. But you see, in the case of exercise, it's already timed, it's structured for you. It has been like they've already given you a dosage of what you will take at a particular time for your condition or for your goal to be actually met. So that's actually the difference between physical activity and exercise.
Okay. So, what type of exercise? Yeah, I would have actually asked about, I wanted to ask about, do one have to go to the gym? Is daily activities sufficient? But with what you
Yes,
just saying, yeah, daily
yes, it
activity is
is.
sufficient.
That's the thing. If that daily activity is actually timed, it is structured, and you have a goal, not because you have to complete your house chores. You know that when I've done these for a while, for like 5 minutes, I need to rest. Do you understand now? In the case of exercise, we have repetitions, we have sets. You know that, okay, now if I do, let's say, push ups now, if I do 30 repetitions, like 5 sets, that's the goal. That is already, you already have a plan. But in the case of house chores, you can't say that I want to wash, oh, 2 baskets or 2 bags of clothes. Do you understand now? So you might not
Yeah.
really be able to actually measure how you are, exerting, you know, how will I put it, like your energy. So you might not
Mm.
be able to. So that was what makes exercise different from physical activity.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So, basically, the daily activity is not the same thing as you
Well, the thing is that the
exercising.
daily activity is not really sufficient, especially in some conditions. Speaking from a physiotherapist point of view now, we don't just give, like, there are different reasons why we exercise,
Yeah.
and there are also different types of exercises depending on the condition.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand now? So
Yes.
depending on the condition. Now, for someone who has, let's say, for instance, stroke, that has difficulty moving their hands and their legs, I mean, you can't tell such person to start washing clothes. So,
Mm-hmm.
so there's a type of exercise, graded exercise. I mean, graded. You start small, depending on what they can do. Do you
Okay.
understand now?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And in such cases, you have to set the goal. You have to set your short-term goal, and there's also your long-term goal. Now, for them to go back to their normal, activities of daily living, that will be your long-term goal. But maybe for them to start, taking their hands to their mouth, things like that, that's your short-term goal. So it's very, very encompassing. Like, it's not just exercise is not just something small. Like, it's very, 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 very broad. So depending on the conditions. Now, an athlete that sprained their ligament, let's say for instance the ligament in the ankle. Now, the kind of
Mm.
exercise you give to such athletes is going to be different, because you can't tell such athletes to start sweeping and doing things that might involve them putting weight on that leg at a particular time. So that's
Yeah.
why physical activity might not be sufficient. So that's why you have to, differentiate between physical activity and exercise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, should I start with the wrong way people go about exercise, or you just talk about the type of exercise?
Well, whichever way you want us to go about it. Well, I think we should talk about the type of exercise first, then we can talk about the wrong ways people, tend to do, carry out exercise.
Okay, so you can go ahead. The type of exercise.
Well, I'm very sure when you check the internet, you're going to see different type of exercise or different types of exercise. See,
Yeah.
depending on depending on how you are, what point of view you're actually looking at the exercise from. You see,
Mm-hmm.
like I said earlier, the kind of exercise you're going to give to somebody that has a stroke is going to be different from the kind of exercise you give to someone who has back pain or someone
Yeah.
who is recovering from, let's say, for instance, an anterior cruciate ligament surgery, which is, sports injuries. And you don't necessarily have to be an athlete for you to suffer from such injuries as well. Do you understand?
Okay.
So now I'm just going to, explain based on um, the the usage, the fuel for energy now. I mean, when I say fuel for energy, I mean oxygen. In terms of oxygen, we have aerobic exercise and we have
Okay.
an aerobic exercise. And you see, under anaerobic exercise is where we now have various type of exercise. Do you understand now? Under
Yeah.
anaerobic, we have the strength training. Do you understand? We have the coordination and agility training exercise. We have the
Mm.
balance and stability training exercise. We have flexibility and mobility training exercise. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Those are under anaerobic exercise. Basically, what aerobic and anaerobic exercise means is that the body uses oxygen in, aerobic exercises. Aerobic is from the word oxygen. Do you understand? So
Yeah.
you need to have sufficient oxygen intake for you to be able to perform well, or build yourself to the point that you can perform well under, very little oxygen supply. For example, in swimmers, swimming is a type of aerobic exercise. And when you are swimming, almost all part of your body, all the part of the muscles in your body are actually working, from your upper limb muscles to your core muscles to your lower limb muscles. Because when you are moving the hands, you are using your upper limbs. To sustain yourself, to float, you are using your core muscles. I mean, the abdominal muscles and the back muscles. Do you understand? And
Yeah.
when they use their leg to, splash water and all of that, you're using your lower limb muscles as well. So that's an example of aerobic exercise. Now running as well, because you need oxygen. Do you understand? For you to be able to run far distance. For example, in marathon runners now, they've trained their body to be able to, function under very low oxygen supply. So that's what I'm saying. There is more to exercise. Like, it's not just the way we see it. It's like exercise. It is just for me to just walk. No. So it depends on your goal now. That's what's going to actually help the physiotherapist or the physiologist to actually help you plan, or give the kind of exercise that you should be doing. So that's why it's not advisable for anyone to just, random, just go to the gym and start doing all sorts.
Okay.
Yeah. So now under anaerobic exercise, like I've earlier mentioned, is where we have the circuit training. For example, the push-ups, the sit-ups, the squats. We have strength training as well, where if you
Yeah.
have to build up strength, do you
Mm-hmm.
understand? Or you want to build up muscles.
Mm.
So there's actually a relationship between strength training and bulking up. But the fact that and there's also a misconception there, because you can actually see someone that is strong, like very strong, and they might not actually have very large muscle bulk.
Okay.
So these things is actually very, 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 very big. It depends on how or where we are looking at it from. And there's also coordination and agility training. For example, I will still go back to stroke patients, because I feel like they actually need different type of exercise. You have to do strength training for them. You have to, not in all cases, depending on how severe the condition is. In some cases, you have to do balance and coordination training. For some of them have balance challenges. Like when they are walking, they tend to sway to one side, and the cerebellum is affected. That part of the brain that controls balance and coordination might be affected. It depends on that part of the brain that is affected in them. So because basically the brain controls everything we do, and that's also going to that might actually lead me to the benefit of exercise as well. So because if different studies have shown that people that exercise regularly, the gyrant and sulci of their brain is very, very much prominent, and they are at very low risk of having some disease and conditions compared to those who doesn't those people that don't exercise regularly. So
Yes.
yeah, and there's also flexibility and mobility training where stretches and yoga comes to to play. So we have different types of exercise depending on what we are trying to achieve, the goal. So basically, before you start an exercise regimen, you need to have a goal, basically. So and that's going to help you guide. That's going to guide you in choosing the right exercise for yourself.
Okay, let's go on a short break.